All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 5th episode of the CG Sitdown with hosts Lane Hebert,
Clay Weedle,
and Andrew Preeb.
Today we're joined by special guest
Brayden Collins.
How are you doing today, Brayden?
Doing good. Thanks for asking.
Good. So today we want to talk about you and your career with football and basketball here at Canton-Galva High School. Mostly going to be touching on football, but we might get into a little basketball later on. So you guys had a pretty good season this year. What was your guys' record?
10-1.
10-1. That's not too bad.
Not
And,
too bad.
You guys were ranked first, right?
Well, first until we lost, yeah.
Yeah. So, you guys had an incredible season from what I saw. Me and Clay were in the end zone every game down there with you, and Andrew was there too. So.
Watching on the sidelines, baby.
Yep. So. Did you notice any changes in this year's team from last year's?
The big thing is last year, coming off of losing seasons prior, and we all had a similar drive, and that was a state championship, and we were hungry all season. We were chasing that state championship, and then we won it, and then next year, it's kind of like you already won the state championship, so that first feeling is gone, but you still want it really bad. It's not exactly the same as the first time.
Yeah, which I imagine that's unbeatable.
Yeah,
feeling that.
yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And throughout the summer and everything, we all worked very hard. We all stayed motivated, but it's a little bit different feeling. Practices weren't as competitive as last year because last year we had a very good scout team, and but still a very good team, good leadership this year. It's just the little things that just felt the feeling was a little bit different, but
Yeah.
Overall it was the same.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Even though you say it wasn't quite the same feelings, you guys definitely still went out there and played your hearts out and played.
Yeah.
You played the best you guys could.
We always, we're really good at playing as a team.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that definitely shows.
Mhm.
Another thing that felt a little bit different is just because of everything with Corona and everything.
Yeah.
A little bit of adversity here and there, and
Yeah.
some different things that came up throughout the season. But I think we did a pretty good job. All the players and the coaches staying positive throughout it all. And,
Yeah, that is true.
mm,
The amount of team bonding you guys do, always going to team dinners and stuff, I think that definitely helps.
yeah, it definitely helps.
Because you guys are together all the time, it seems like, and it's hard to break that up.
Yep.
But,
you want to go ahead and tell us about, you guys had a pod system?
Yeah. So our pod system was to prevent the whole team from getting quarantined in case one player got it. So we had pod 1 was the main starters on the team, varsity players, and then pod 2 was some varsity players but don't play both ways, and our main practice players. And then pod 3 were strictly scout team and a lot of the freshmen. And so pod 1 was to distance from pod 2 and 3 as much as possible. Pod 2 could associate with 1 and 3, but still want to try to stay within the pods. And then pod 3 was to try to stay away from both pods as much as possible. But and it's kind of hard at practices and stuff, with team stretching and everything. But I think for the most part we managed it pretty well, and it was a success. So.
yeah, because that worked pretty good.
Yeah.
You only had a couple of people quarantined, and it wasn't even for
Yeah,
people on the football team.
that's kind of why we did that, is because we had a couple players
Yeah.
that were quarantined earlier in the season, and so we tried to come up with a way,
Yeah.
and it got cleared by the school, so it worked out pretty well.
Because that initial scare, that probably definitely put a few new
Yeah.
rules in place for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
And throughout the year, at the start, we didn't have any restrictions on games here, did we?
No, we didn't have any crowd restrictions for our home games at least,
Yeah.
which is pretty nice. So we got a
Mhm.
good big home crowd,
Because we always have a huge crowd here, it
Yeah.
seems like. It's
Yeah.
always packed.
pretty good fan base. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
Then there was a little known pod 4
Yeah.
with me and Lane.
The media crew.
Yeah.
The media team. So people outside of the community might not know this, but there's been quite a few upgrades in your guys' weight room also. And how did that all take place?
So in the summer, Coach O'Connor, both of the Coach O'Connors got together and they put together this thing called a lift-a-thon. And at the end of the summer, all the players and the girls were assigned to go find sponsors or donations for the lift-a-thon. And pretty much how it worked is they would donate like a certain amount of money per pound that you lifted. So say I lift a total of 1,000 pounds and they donated 10 cents, then that would add up and that'd be a total thing. And we ended up raising right around $20,000 for that.
Dang.
So we got a lot of new equipment in there, and yeah, and then he plans on doing that for the next couple of years, and he's got some pretty big plans for all that. So
Yeah, that is crazy. That's really cool to see that the community kind of came together for that and
Yeah.
helped everybody
yeah,
out.
it was really
I'm
good.
sure that helped you guys out too in the weight room.
Yep.
So, are there any games that stood out to you?
Well, the first couple games were easier games for us. Still important. Every game's important.
Yeah.
But I'd say the biggest one was the Little River one for regular season. They are, the rivals and everything, and they're a really good football team. And so that was a huge game for us. And then moving to playoffs, every game is very important there. If you lose, you're done. And Valley Falls wasn't too big of a threat going into that game, but still had to make sure we do our jobs. And then Burlingame, we knew that they were a good team and definitely capable of ending it. And there was quite a bit of adversity that game just because of, certain circumstances and whatnot. But, I think we did pretty good executing,
Yeah.
We didn't quit throughout the whole entire game, and it definitely showed.
Yeah.
So
Burlingame, that was a good game to watch too.
And then Madison did not go our way.
Yeah, which Madison, I think it's one of those examples of football, like, it's everything you love and hate, which is what I heard O'Connor talking about.
Yeah.
Like, everything that could have went good for them, and everything that could have went bad for us. But
Yeah, I don't know, that tough game right there.
yeah, that was definitely a heartbreaker to watch that one, but
Yeah,
that's how football goes, I guess.
yep.
It's kind of sad that's your guys' last year of football, but you guys ended on a pretty good note, I guess. Like, you still made it pretty deep into playoffs and almost went all the way again. But
Yeah.
what was it like in the locker room after that Madison game?
That was, looking like the past 3 years, that's the first home game that we've lost.
Yeah.
And so that was a really big shot there. And so it was very quiet, a lot of tears. But for the it was just really quiet,
Yeah.
not a very good feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think you guys would have done differently, or if you could have done differently, you would have done?
At the beginning of the summer of the season, I'd say our team might have been a little bit lax, knowing that, we were going to be good and all, and we knew that. And so maybe if we knew we were going to lose that game, maybe earlier in the season, we all would have worked just that little bit harder,
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we worked extremely hard
Yeah.
throughout the whole entire season and off season, everything. But maybe we just would have, had that little nudge to get us going.
Just a little more
bit
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on scouting on those guys, did you have did they do basically what you thought they were going to do, or did they switch it up, or?
So we put in, because we know that they pass a lot, and we know that they're a pretty powerful team on the inside run game, so we switched up out of a 3-2 to a 3-3, and it worked great. We bumped them out, but what I wasn't really expecting was they did a lot of twins look,
Oh, yeah.
and so that was a lot of cover two, and but yeah, for the most part, I knew it was going to be a tough game, and I knew they were going to throw the ball a lot, so I was very confident that we could shut down the inside run.
Yeah, and defense that game on your guys' part was insane. You guys put down quite a few stops on them.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, they couldn't really move the ball a whole
Yeah.
lot, and offensively, we held them. We had more rushing yards and passing yards than they did the whole game. We held them to a very limited amount, so the thing that killed us was the turnovers.
Yeah.
That's what.
Was it 6 turnovers?
7 turnovers,
7?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, that'll do it for sure.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the game there, I thought it was going to be over at half. It was getting close. It was 18-6
Yeah.
there, and it was, you guys were leading by a decent amount, but.
Yeah. And even though, we lost and everything, just like the competition in that game was, the best we've had all year. So
Yeah.
it was still a very fun game. But just wish it would have turned out our way.
Yeah. So your guys' coach, Shelby, you've had him for quite a while, right?
Yeah, we've had him ever since 7th grade is when he was junior high coach. And
Yeah, our first year in junior high was his first year there too.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like he moved up all the way with us.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, 7th and 8th grade, I was really sad because I really liked him as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really want to move on to a different one. But then high school came, and then we were fortunate enough to get him in the head coach position. And, it definitely paid off. Him and his coaching staff really turned the whole program around.
Yeah.
Got a more like school spirit and community.
Yeah. The amount of community backing and support
Yeah.
I've seen
Oh, yeah.
in the past years is crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
in just 4 years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really crazy to think
Mhm.
of where we came from to where we are now. And
it's cool that he's kind of been there and watched you guys grow through all that, and you've
Yeah.
kind of watched him grow as a coach too.
yeah,
And like your guys' coaching staff is just crazy too.
It's crazy.
we were
just
very
like,
fortunate.
Yeah.
from freshman year, the attendance in the games compared to this year, how many people would show up even
Oh,
with
yeah.
COVID, the difference is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
It's probably
I
double.
wish I had like a comparison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if somebody just had like a picture of
Yeah.
a game and then the next one. But you could sit anywhere in the stands you wanted to 4 years ago at a game, but now you have to come in 30 minutes to an hour early just to find a seat.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I remember looking out one of the classroom windows, and it's like 12 o'clock, and we got blankets laid out on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that last
stands.
year in art. That was cool.
Yeah,
that was crazy. Yeah, this year it was me and Clay would get there really early to set up all the cameras and stuff, and it'd be 5 o'clock, and there'd be 10, 15 people in the stand
Yeah,
already
like
just waiting.
when we do our 5
Saving
o'clock
seats.
walkthrough,
Yeah.
and we'd go walk through in our jerseys just to talk about the game on the field, and there'd already be 20 people
Yeah.
sitting in the stands
Yeah.
2 hours prior.
Yeah.
People tailgating in the parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, have you had any offers from colleges yet?
Yeah, I have an offer from Hutch Community College and then Highland Community College. Talking to a few other coaches here and there, but it's been kind of slow since our season ended a little bit early.
Yeah.
But I still feel like there's a few more things coming my way, but we'll just have to. I'm very fortunate and
Yeah.
thankful for all the
Your
opportunities that they're giving me. So
Yeah. Was that Madison game that the Highland Scouts came?
yeah,
Or
Highland
the
came
coach?
down to that one and Butler
Oh yeah.
Community College also.
And Butler's the place you want to go, right?
I mean, I'm very interested in that. I'm interested in every school that gives me offers. But yeah, I'd definitely like to get an offer from them.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So I think we got a pretty good view and some good questions and answers there about football. So we could probably move to basketball now. And so you're going out for basketball this year, right?
Yep.
And how do you think that's going to go?
I'm looking forward to it a lot. New coach this year, great coach.
Yeah.
Had a lot of chances to talk to him, get to know him over the summer and everything. And he's already done a lot for the school in the
Oh,
short
yeah.
time he's
Yeah.
been here. So CG is very fortunate to have him.
Yeah.
And he's no joke. I mean, he's going to work us in
Mhm.
basketball. He's definitely going to get us all better. All the players seem to have a lot of respect for him already, which is very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the season's definitely going to look better than it has in the past years.
Hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And I know we've talked about Mr. O'Connor or Larry before on the podcast, and he's definitely the real deal. He's
Yeah.
done quite a lot for the school so far, and definitely the best AD we've had in a while.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's for sure.
So, heard a few things. I hear it's pretty tough, but I think that's something the basketball team needs
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, in just the summer practices and scrimmages, I mean, he likes to move quick, Everything's fast. And in practices, we don't really do too much just straight conditioning. It's
Yeah.
in drills is conditioning
Yeah.
in itself. And it's hard work, but, I mean, I really like it.
Yeah.
And he's a very passionate coach, too.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
He mentioned in our team meeting a couple of days ago that these next 4 months that we have him, is he doesn't do anything except eat, breathe, and sleep basketball, and he's
Yeah.
going to give us like our full. He's going to give everything he has towards us for basketball season, and he doesn't think about anything else while it's happening. And I think that's really cool that we have someone so dedicated towards it.
Yeah, that is cool. It's always nice because that's how like Mr. O'Connor and Shelby are for
Yeah.
football. and
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we finally have a coach like that
And
for
then
basketball.
Ted Gears is going to
Ted,
be the.
Yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Ted's the
He's
the
an
assistant.
Ted should be the assistant
He's
this
a good-
year.
he's a good
and-
assistant.
Yeah, he's a good assistant
Mhm.
too.
That'll be cool.
Yep.
So how are the numbers looking this year? Is there quite a bit of people going on?
Yeah, we actually have increased numbers from last year.
Yeah.
So I can't remember. Do you know around the
We're shooting in the 20s.
Yeah.
20s? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a bigger team than what we've had.
Yeah.
A lot bigger team than what we've had. And so yeah,
Past few years, I noticed it's definitely been dropping off, but
yeah,
finally
Yeah.
going back up, which is
Yep.
good. And hopefully you can,
it's rebuilding.
hopefully you can rebuild the whole basketball team
Yep.
and put together a good team this year.
Yep.
So, can't talk about basketball too much since I haven't really started yet. You guys are on break still from football, so.
Yeah, he told us to start 23rd and take this week for get some rest.
Yeah, which you guys probably definitely need.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it's probably weird going home straight after school.
Yeah, it
but-
definitely is because ever since the beginning of summer, we've had practices, weights, something.
Yeah.
We've never really had a break.
Mhm.
And even last year, going from football straight to basketball practice with no breaks, it gets pretty tough and tiring. But yeah, it's definitely weird going home with nothing to do.
Yeah.
I definitely
believe
trade it for some football practices.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice break. So
Well, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Yep.
Hopefully we can have you again sometime for basketball and see how that's all going for you.
sounds
So,
good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.
See you next time.
Yep.